Welcome to the Reimagine podcast. Each week, give yourself 30 minutes and meet the people working hard to create the future of insurance today.
Hi, this is Paul Tyler with another episode of the Reimagine podcast. And today we have an extraordinarily special guest, Laura Dinan-Haber, who is
Hey, Paul, how are you?
Good. How are you? And
Good,
you are the program manager for Reimagine, doing just a fantastic job. We just came off of a really interesting event, which everybody will hear about later, Reimagine Retirement. However, we are going to do something a little special. And at the end of our introduction, we will play a panel that was held last week. And you were one of those panelists.
I was. It was good to be on the other side of the microphone, if you will. It was a coming home of sorts over at the University of Hartford. So being an alum, I like to be engaged. I'm on their alumni board. But this was a special treat to be sharing the stage, if you will, with Gordon Hui from Hartford Steam Boiler, HSB, and Marty Guay from Stanley Black & Decker.
Yeah, two great individuals. And I can't wait to hear the discussion. I certainly saw the comments. Now, the title of this was Innovation in Hartford. So tell me, what was the big idea that you all talked about?
Yeah, sure. So the focus of the conversation was really for the student population to understand the innovation ecosystem in Hartford. As you all know, it's made up of a lot of different players and a lot of different companies. But from the students' perspective, we really wanted to focus in on how they can become engaged and potentially think about future workforce opportunities for themselves.
Interesting. Okay. So if you're a student, you want to get into the innovation scene, listen, Laura's going to have some great advice for you, as will Marty and Gordon. Two great individuals here, very active in supporting innovation in the area. What if I'm an employer? What if I work at an insurance company? Do I get, are there some valuable tips in terms of how to keep people here?
There are. We talked to the students about how to keep people here, how to keep them engaged, and ideas on how to bring them potentially inside of the corporation in ways that you may not have thought of before.
Excellent. What about startups listening? What could they get from listening to the panel discussion today?
Sure, they can get a sense of the type of talent that is within University of Hartford and other surrounding colleges and universities, and how to best utilize that talent within their startup to help it take it to the next step.
All right. Well, listen, you've got me about to listen. I'm going to listen to this all the way to the end. And with that, hey, let's Laura, roll it.
I want to say good afternoon to everyone. My name is Lynn Baronis. I am the Senior Director of Strategic and Corporate Engagement at the University of Hartford. And I am delighted to welcome all of you to today's panel discussion on innovation in Hartford. Today's event is brought to you by the university's Partnership Council, which is a group of 25 of my colleagues who represent all of our colleges and administrative areas. Council members meet once a month to share, support, and promote our partnership activities. And we have many partnership activities going on with many organizations, not only in the industry, corporations, government agencies, not-for-profits, you name it. We're deeply embedded in the community. These partnerships are really important to us because they enhance our classroom education experiences for our students. And they do this in so many valuable ways. They offer hands-on learning experiences. They offer career pathway exploration and opportunities to network and meet others outside of the institution for our students. Soon, Council is going to be launching a partnership toolkit, which is a just-in-time online toolkit or piece of work for those who are in our communities to be able to access as they're building out partnerships. And then finally, the Partnership Council sponsors panel presentations just like this one every year to be able to raise up our partner organizations and what we're doing with them. And we hope that you'll keep your eyes and ears open for future events like this. Before moving on to the main event, though, we want to take a moment today to acknowledge that it is Veterans Day. And there are so many veterans alive today that have served our country both in times of war and peace. They wear badges and medals of silver and gold. badges that represent the most notable qualities of humankind: honor and courage, commitment and sacrifice. This Veterans Day, we are so grateful to the men and women, past and present, who decided to serve. We are grateful for who they are, what they did, and what they continue to do today in and out of uniform. And now I'm going to turn the program over to Milena Irwin, who is a fellow Partnership Council member and today's moderator. She is the program manager of the university's Women's Business Center, and also, as you can see on the slide, an adjunct professor of entrepreneurship at the Barney School of Business. Milena?
Thank you, Lynn. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this afternoon's event. We're very happy to welcome our panelists today and all of you in attendance. I would like to join Lynn in honoring all the veterans today, and as part of our Women's Business Center mission, a special honor to all the female veterans and military spouses that are taking the entrepreneurial journey to support themselves, their families, and their communities. Before we get started, thank you, Lynn, for an amazing leadership of the Partnership Council, which I've had the honor to participate in for years now. Thank you, Kate and Brittany, for all your hard work in putting this event together. I'd like to welcome our panelists and get started. We only have an hour, and I'm sure a lot to share with our audience. So warm welcome to our panelists, Marty Guay, the Vice President of Business Development at Stanley Black & Decker. Welcome, Marty. Laura Diamond-Haber, Innovation Program Manager at Nassau Financial Group and our very own University of Hartford alumna. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you.
And last but not least, Gordon Huey, the Vice President of Marketing and Customer Experience at Hartford Steam Boiler. Welcome, Gordon.
Hi.
Hi. Pleasure to have you all. We can all hear you. That's half of the battle. We can all see you. We can all hear you. Let's get started. So by way of introduction, can you talk a little bit about how innovation fits in your mission and your values, both of your organizations and your own personal? We'll start with down the list of introductions. Marty.
Thank you, Milena, and thank you, Lynn, for putting together the program. Marty Guay with Stanley Black & Decker. We have a 177-year-old industrial organization, one of the great U.S. manufacturing companies at Stanley Black & Decker. And we know that to get forward to the next 177 years, we really need to understand the future. So our CEO, Jim Lurie, has really three pillars, three goals. The first is top quartile performance against our peers. Our stock price is really a proxy of that. The second is to be known as one of the world's great innovative companies. And we were just ranked again this year as one of the top 20 most innovative companies, I think by Barron's. But Jim wants to be known as one of the world's great innovative companies, full stop, not just industrial innovative companies. So we have a really large and engaged innovation ecosystem inside of Stanley Black & Decker. And the third is around corporate social responsibility, diversity, inclusion, sustainability, and really impact to the world. So innovation is one of our three core pillars. And we know that innovation keeps us competitiveness. Our competitiveness creates performance, and performance creates our ability to help lean into the world and do good where we can. So it's a really an important aspect of our DNA, innovation.
It's great. And to echo what Marty's saying from the Nassau perspective, we joke around saying that we're over a 100-year-old startup, where Nassau Financial Group, Nassau Re is the InsurTech incubator inside of NFG, and we've been around for just shy of 2 years now. But innovation is really at the heart of what we do. It's bringing that innovative culture to the employees within the company. It's looking at how can we change what we're doing today in an intelligent way, utilizing technology and then also human asset to bring forward the company and bring forward the activities within it. So partnering with startups from all over the world to really showcase what is possible, what is there, and bringing forward insurance to a spot that it may not have been yet, and kind of reimagining and rethinking how we can do certain things, whether it's in our company or even in the community. As Marty had mentioned, innovation within Hartford, and we'll get to this later in the conversation, it's vibrant, it's alive. We're very excited to be part of that and kind of weaving it into what we do in a company standpoint on the day-to-day, utilizing that in the external on the day-to-day as well, is really something that energizes us in what we do. But Nassau Reimagine, as I had mentioned, not even 2 years old, and really kind of looking to reinvent insurance. So very excited to be here today.
Thank you, Laura.
What Laura says, HSB is a multi-line specialty insurer, and we provide risk products and services for literally hundreds of insurance carriers and risk pools and OEMs and startups. And our story is interesting around innovation because innovation drove how we were founded in the 1860s. And when you think about the 1860s, it was the time of the Industrial Revolution, and it was made possible through steam power. Steam drove industrial machinery, it drove locomotives, it drove steamboats. And because it was so revolutionary, it was also creating some challenges in the sense that steam boilers were literally exploding. Like literally every 4 days, another steam boiler would explode, and people thought these were acts of God. And so a group of innovators right here in Hartford, people with names like Pratt and Whitney and Root, felt that this was an opportunity for innovation, that by understanding the underlying technology, by establishing standards for the engineering of these boilers through regular monitoring and ultimately the design of risk solutions, we could make what sounded like an act of God be something that could be innovated and made of more value. And so that's how we were founded. And over time, we started with steam boilers, we went to other machinery, we started doing cyber, and now we're at this evolution of where we are, where that first revolution of steam is meeting with electricity and steel, which was the second industrial revolution, is meeting with the third revolution, which is digital, and it's generating this fourth revolution, which we call, Industry 4.0. And so oftentimes right now, when companies come to HSB, it's about this idea of building innovative solutions that combine technology, engineering, and insurance. And just to give you a sense of how important those three things combining together are, my remit is I oversee marketing customer experience for our applied technology solutions business, which is strictly just focused on IoT, commercial IoT, and emerging technologies. And so that's our story of innovation.
Great. Thank you all for a great start sharing your stories. Obviously, innovation, not just for startups, right? A lot of history and a lot of history in all three organizations that you represent today. So let's move it back to 2020 and kind of position it geographically around our theme today. Why Hartford? I know that your organizations have, for most part, historical roots in the city, but what makes Hartford the right place for innovation in 2020? We'll start with Laura, and then we'll go to Marty and Gordon.
Sure. So, Hartford is geographically located in an area where we have Boston, we have New York surrounding us. And some people view that as a disadvantage, but I think in many ways it's actually an advantage. So, rewind about 9, 10, 11 months ago when space was a thing, when co-working was active, when everyone was surrounding themselves, Hartford is a place where you can come and be a big fish in a small pond, where you can make change. There's support on the government level. Mayor Luke Bronin is amazing. He's very supportive of the efforts of the initiatives. He's, wanted to take a meeting to really help drive forth that change. There's corporate partners where we all come together. We talk about the issues at hand. We create opportunities for whether it's a startup or for those within the ecosystem to really be able to grow, flourish, and help out where needed. It's a group of individuals that represent companies that are very recognizable from around the world. But at the end of the day, it's a group of people who believe in innovation and this change and how it can really shape what we're doing today and what we're doing in the future. So it's a wonderful combination of where we are on the map, the support from, everything from the street level all the way to the government level, and then really looking at the assets that we have around us. I mean, if you stand in the center of Hartford and you throw a shoe, you can hit a number of insurance companies, you can hit a number of large organizations. And the fact that we are within an ecosystem that supports one another and really wants to see the change as a collective success, I think is something that makes Hartford unique and a really great place for innovation.
Laura, I think you hit it right on the head. I think Hartford is small enough to make an impact quickly and big enough to do all the things that you want to do and dream big and take big swings. We believe at Stanley Black & Decker that, the innovation and talent in specific is pretty homogenized around the world. Talent is everywhere in the world, but it's really trapped in our urban core. And we're looking to help leverage talent inside the urban core. There's a lot of, systemic problems with youth of color having advantages and opportunities. So we think where opportunities are kind of spiky, talent is not. So we're looking to activate those two ecosystems together, because innovation is really what causes economic growth. Innovation is what causes economic opportunity. And as people listen on the call, most people have this default setting to think of innovation as purely technology or software. And it really relates to as many other things like business process, go-to-market models, customer experience. There's innovation in a whole lot of different areas. So we're betting on Hartford. We believe in Hartford. Our cities have to win for the country to win. And we do believe tier 2 cities need a lot of help. The tier 1 cities, to Laura's point, like Boston, New York, San Francisco, Chicago, they get a lot of resources and they get a lot of people. But the tier 2 cities in the United States, the Hartfords, the Buffaloes, the Portlands, the Birmingham, Alabamas, the Erie, Pennsylvanias, we really need to activate the talent in the urban core. And we think innovation can be one of those ways to really engage people into the future.
Well, Marty, my wife is going to really appreciate you highlighting Buffalo for sure. She's from there. But when I joined in 2017 and I was talking to our CEO, Greg Baratz, we made a very conscious decision that we would build our innovation hub, our IoT home here in Hartford, Connecticut. Part of it certainly is due to the fact that our company is fundamentally about risk solutions and insurance, and what better place to build an innovation hub for insurance than the capital of insurance right here in Hartford, Connecticut. But then I'd say the other thing that was top of mind for us is we felt that a company like HSB, whose name included the word Hartford, had to create our beachhead here. And so we've made a very conscious decision that we had to have our main headquarters and our innovation hub be here in this city. And we've intentionally not made the decision that other companies have where they've built a digital or technology base in another city. That just didn't seem authentic to us, And so we call our collaboration space, our innovation hub, the mashup at HSB. It's 20,000 square feet, right in the middle of downtown Hartford, just across the way from Marty. And in a non-pandemic environment, over 70 employees every day come to our floor. Many of them are from insurance, but equally important, most of them are not from insurance backgrounds, right? They're coming as designers, as data scientists and technologists and engineers. And I think the greatest positive impact it has is when our clients visit us, when our partners visit us, that they see that this type of work is happening here, that this type of talent is here, that this type of diversity of culture and gender and skill set is here, that is more reflective of what they assume is happening in the larger cities. And so our big challenge, obviously, and why we're excited to be here today, and I'm sure why Marty and Laura is here, is we want to continue to attract technology executives and partners and clients, but more importantly, the young talent that is represented by UHart, and have them be a part of this future that is innovation in Hartford.
Yeah, and Gordon, you make a really good point in that a lot of what we focus on, and as you mentioned, is a non-pandemic environment. If you actually go on the other side of Marty's building, you'll find us, the two-sided boat building, but it's a really great combination of skill set. And that, I think, is something to point out, is that it's not just people who code. It's not people who are just in the insurance industry. It's not people in just one sector. It's the combination of all those talents. When they come together, that's what's helping to drive the innovation. It's not single-minded thinking. It's multiple individuals from various backgrounds. And that's where the magic really happens. And you kind of mash it all up, throw it together, hit it against a wall, maybe some whiteboards with a chalkboard before Gordon, and you kind of see what sticks. And that's like the most exciting part, I think, for us, is when we are in spaces and now it's digital, we have the opportunity to do it. When you get the people together to put the ideas from various backgrounds is really powerful.
I want to add Laura's point. I remember when I was a kid, my father used to tell me that Polaroid was going to go out of business. And Polaroid, when I was a kid, was like Apple is today. The Polaroid camera, the instant camera, it was such a prolific technology. Everyone had one. And I would say, Dad, why are they going to go out of business? And he'd say, Marty, they only hire engineers from MIT. That's all they do. You cannot work there unless you have a degree from MIT. And he said, the problem with that for them is going to be they all think the same because they all have the same professors. They ought to hire a few potato farmers from Iowa to get a different perspective on the world. My father was a scientist, an engineer, had a lot of degrees, so he wasn't a casual thought on his part, but he was absolutely right. And to Laura's point, if there's people out there listening and you're not an engineer and you want to get into innovation, or you're not a scientist and you want to get innovation, we need everybody. We need good, hardworking, creative, thoughtful, courageous minds to get into this endeavor, because we're trying to create this future or acknowledge where the future is going. We need a lot of different perspectives. So diversity, cognitive diversity, is as important in innovation as anything else.
Wow, great points, great points. We'll continue the discussion on that. I think all of you kind of made the segue to where I'd like to take the discussion next. And Marty, I think we can pitch to Luke Braun a new slogan for the city of Hartford: small enough and big enough. I think I've wrote it down, and maybe that's something that's going to stick. But you all talked about the importance of, obviously the collective success and the thinking in win-win terms about all the people that are engaged in that discussion. And Gordon, I think you had a perfect segue to where I want to take the discussion next. Our audience today is mostly mixed students, faculty, staff at the University of Hartford. And I know that all of your organizations have a history of partnerships and initiatives with the university. So let's bring it into the role that the educational institutions play in that innovation ecosystem. What role do you see the universities play, and how can they be most supportive, most engaged, most impactful in that ecosystem? And we'll start, let's say, Gordon, let's start with you, and then Laura and Marty. I mean, you guys are doing pretty well, so just play off each other.
Yeah, no problem. So my take on it is vibrant innovation ecosystems are really built upon the frequent and active involvement of the colleges and universities that surround that city, right? The faculty and staff and the things that are going on inside the schools help drive the innovation ecosystem. And we've seen this for a long time, in other cities. The Bay Area would not be what it would be without Stanford and Berkeley being a part of the innovation ecosystem. Columbia, New York University helped drive New York City's innovation ecosystem. Wharton, UPenn, Drexel drive the Philadelphia innovation ecosystem, and so on and so forth. And so when I think about the role of the universities and colleges in that ecosystem, it's fundamentally driving that influx of young talent, providing the programming, the classes, the extracurriculars that enable the young talent to nurture and gain new skill sets that relate to innovation, shots at incubating ideas, through challenges and the like, opportunities to do research, and ultimately helping to foster the effort towards creating startups and small businesses that drive the long-term growth of our local economy, right? And so I think that opportunity is similar here and would be true of the University of Hartford. And I'm glad to say that HSB is doing our part, or so we think, in terms of enabling that interaction with the university and colleges in central Connecticut, notably the University of Hartford, right? We host students at our innovation space, the Mashup, from the business school. We sponsor senior projects in the mechanical engineering department. We meet with the deans about IoT and cybersecurity and how it can fold into curriculum. We obviously support the career services department, but most importantly, from our perspective, we're funding the development of UHeart's new Internet of Things lab that'll be on the 3rd floor of the new academic center for advanced engineering and health sciences. And I think that's going to be really great because it's going to allow the students and the academia and the researchers to use that lab to work with sensors and wireless networks, remote monitoring and control devices for a variety of applications, right? It'll have computers, it'll have software, sensors, routers, all this stuff that people would love to play with, to build code and test. And it fundamentally represents an authentic commitment by us, by HSB, to enable a workforce in a local community of talent, of college graduates who are going to have this unique expertise in IoT, right? Who are going to help drive our innovation ecosystem and ultimately create a pipeline of great people to grow our ability to have an IoT innovation ecosystem.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the first I've heard of it. So congratulations to you guys. That's amazing. From the Reimagine perspective, I'm actually super jazzed. We recently came into an agreement within, it's called the InsurTech Initiative, and it's a partnership, I'm sure the students know about it, between University of Hartford and University of Connecticut. So it's an InsurTech focused program that takes InsurTech fellows, so students within that program, and pairs them up with startups for that real life experience of the nitty gritty, the day to day, everything that they can do to utilize the skill set that they have while learning in real time from the startups what it takes to really keep the lights on literally on the day to day and then help drive that company's mission forward. So we are going to be partnering with that and offering the opportunity to the startups within the Reimagine program. We have 17 from across the world. They span 5 different continents, about 50% female founders. It's a great group of individuals. And I'm personally excited about the opportunity to pair them with students that are local to Hartford area and going through this InsurTech program to see what we can do. Because as Gordon mentioned, it's a lot about shaping and helping form education for individuals, for both the startup and the student. It's really a fair trade partnership there. But what I'm most curious about is the talent pipeline post-fact, right? So they graduate college. The goal is to stay here in Hartford in the Connecticut area. And what better way to get exposure to real-time global startups doing really cool things with that InsurTech space. So for me, it's a lot about keep the assets we have here, and build them in a way where they're going to want to help support the future of whatever tomorrow looks like for innovation. So it's exciting.
I think universities and colleges and community colleges, how do they interact with the innovation ecosystem? I think, innovation is all about the future, and colleges and universities by nature is all about the future. I mean, you're preparing talent for the future. We are trying to align our organizations, our strategies to the future. So this is really, we're both, pointing in the right direction. We need that talent to come into this future with us, whether it's helping create it, enable it, or implement it. So for us, really super important part of that ecosystem, and it is the future. So we want those young ideas because those ideas are relevant. Those are the ideas that are coming. These are the attitudes that are important. So for us, we engage with colleges and universities all over the world. We have a map of, just in the US, we have agreements with about 30 colleges and universities and different types of programs, endeavors. I know with you, Hart, we do a lot. I think Lynn Baronis has done a great job connecting us with the university. And I know our CFO, Don Allen of Stanley Black & Decker, is an alumni, class of 86, and sits on, I think it's the board of visitors or friends or directors. Yeah, he's very much engaged, and that's great for us because it gives us that connectivity. But for college and universities, you want to be connected to companies at a multiple of levels, whether it's mentorships, whether it's internships, whether it's programming. I've been to the University of Hartford many times to speak to different classes. I've had people come and work with me on short-term projects and programs. The last person I had, she just started at Raytheon as an engineer, and I was happy to be her government clearance sponsor, or one of them. But for sure, we need all the best young minds and the energy. And you don't have to be top of your class to do something important in life. You just need to be engaged, and your feet are moving, and committed to learning and being better. So we're not looking for the smartest people in the world. We're looking for the people that really want to engage and understand in the world.
And Marty, you make a good point, because we're talking a lot about students, but it's also the faculty and the staff within the universities that really, it's an opportunity for us as an organization to kind of lean in. So Ken Goldstein, for example, is on the advisory board for Nassau Reimagine. I worked with Ken and Celia Lofink about different partnership opportunities for Reimagine within the Barney School of Business and the UHART as a whole. And it's identifying the power players that are here, that live and breathe and teach this, but getting those mindsets and that thought processes to the table from a corporate perspective to really make sure that we're on the right track. Because until we ask, we don't know, we're just assuming, and we all know what people say about that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you gave us a great perspective of some new exciting things that you have going on, and the value that you place in the educational institutions. I mean, Gordon, congratulations on that groundbreaking new lab. Exciting to see it materialize and to visit it one day. And I think, Marty, I picked up on a couple of things you said about engaging students. The story with Polaroid, and not just engineers, but just about any student. And it doesn't have to be someone at the top of the class. I love that, because it's all about diversity of perspective, and academic achievement is obviously just one of the aspects of that diversity. So, just to make it clear, I mean, for the students listening today that are our main priority at the university, what are the best ways to start getting engaged? If you want to just clarify, I know you mentioned some of them, I know you have some exciting things, but how does a student listening today, how do they start about getting engaged? What is the best way, or what are the top 3 ways, or how do they go about engaging further?
I think the quick answer is try. I mean, try and figure out how to get to meet somebody, to network, to volunteer, to show up for a program, to just get out in the world. It's not a clean, this is not a antiseptic type of clinical moment where somebody gets plugged in onto a track. Life doesn't happen that way. But if there are students out there listening, I will tell you that I've had the blessing of running a lot of businesses, and what I look for in young people is the qualities that I think that you need to be successful. I had one of the top professors in the world, literally the world, mentor me when I was young in starting off in business, and he told me one thing that has always stuck with me. He said, Marty, hire for behavior and then train for skill. Hire for behavior. Hire people that are honest, they're hardworking, they help others, they give first, they're respectful, they want to learn, they want to give credit to others when it's due, they want to listen, and then skill them up. Just skill them up. Most people hire for skill and fire for behavior. So you can actually position yourself when you're young, coming out of school or in school, by going to volunteer for something, by helping out, by being the person in class that wants to do extra, by going out in the community and going to a program. But just don't think you have to have all these credentials to be successful when you're starting. You actually want to think about having all these behaviors. And when we sit there, I know Gordon and Laura will say that, we sit here and we see a young person coming up who wants to really work hard and do the right thing. And boy, this is the kind of person we want as an intern. This is the kind of person we want as a mentor. This is the kind of person we want as a first jobber, because people don't come in with the skill sets to do the job. I mean, it's really unfair to think, and I think a lot of people get afraid that they have to, know everything and have this fancy credential or fancy experience. Everyone's trying to get internships. I always, if I have a young person coming to me and this is going to sound crazy, but if they dug holes all summer and get up at 6 a.m, did that till 10 p.m, versus somebody who had all kinds of fancy internships, I look at the work ethic. I really do. I think that's a really strong component of future success, and that person will want to innovate because they don't want to be digging ditches all day. So, for me, it's really about really making yourself, getting out there and asking people, what am I missing? What can I do better? How could I have introduced myself better? People want to help you. Just get out and try, get out and do something, and take the medicine. You're not always going to get the vitamins where somebody says, oh, you're great, you did a great job. Take the medicine with really tough, because if you only take the vitamins, you don't change. If you only get medicine, you may get frustrated. You need a little bit of both, but be prepared find people that are critical and want to help you at the same time. This is an important network for you to build.
Yeah, and then building upon Marty's comments, I think the common theme upon what I'm talking about, Laura's talking about, and Marty's talking about is we are trying to build a system, right, an ecosystem that allows you to participate in the innovation that we're doing, right? The things that we're talking about are fundamentally about people in schools and universities working with us and investing and building this innovation ecosystem that largely, wasn't here even just a few years ago, right? And you think about, and I know for me, I wasn't in my job a few years ago. Laura, I don't think you were in your job a few years ago. Marty, you may have been in this job a few years ago. I don't know, but so it's something very new, right? And this ecosystem is only going to sustain if there's going to be growth, and that growth that we're seeking to make possible is the talent that you represent. And so, if nothing else, the take-home message from me is, please take advantage of the opportunities that we are trying to create for you. And by taking advantage of those opportunities, by participating in those innovation classes, doing the projects, interning at the startups, networking and volunteering, you're going to help us grow this innovation ecosystem that's being built here in Hartford.
Yeah, and I would say, to build on both messages, come with creativity, because everyone knows something that somebody else doesn't know. So if someone were to come to me and say, hey, you need to be on TikTok, I'd be like, you need to tell me why I need to be there, and then build something for me and create that channel, how you're going to represent it, and just come with ideas. And they might feel wild, but I'm into wild. That's kind of what I dig. I want to hear something that I haven't heard before, and not just for the sake of it, but understanding that you can see the current state of, say, the innovation ecosystem, but maybe you can see something where 1 year out, 2 years out, one activity out, you can change it. Here's why you want to change it. Here's how you're going to change it. Here's the steps you're going to go about it. Come with ideas, come with creativity, leave fear and apprehension at the door. Even if you feel it, just pretend to be somebody else in that moment. Be bold and really just make yourself aware of the skills that you truly bring to the table, and that your thought process is different than ours, and that's exactly what we're looking for. But be bold enough to take that step to come forth, whether it's an internship you may want or a job. The first job I got after I left University of Hartford, they were asking 5 to 7 years experience, and I hadn't even walked down the stage yet. But I was able to sell my skill set and my beliefs and my work ethic to them in a way that made them believe that they could skill me up. I didn't have the 5 years, but I had the foundation for them to want to believe in me. And I think at the end of the day, trust, being able to see that you're a genuine hard worker, those are things we can absolutely work with and we want to work with. And the rest of it will come with time. But I think it's such a wonderful opportunity even to hear what we're going through, what we're doing, what we're creating as a way to get you involved. Don't be shy about that. So if it's reach out on LinkedIn, it's send an email, do something really wild, pick up an actual phone and actually call someone. These are the things that will make you stand out in a really positive way. They may seem simple, but they matter.
Great. So for all the students listening today, some great insights on building your skills, but really more about just not being afraid to jump in, right? And being afraid to take that first step and being bold and engaging. So great points. And for faculty and staff listening, make sure that you translate that to your students. Yes, yeah, Marty.
I think Laura makes a good point. Fear will be the biggest limitation of your career, not competence. You can actually become competent in a whole lot of things, but it's the fear that you don't belong, or you're not smart enough, or I don't have all the pedigree. You do have to bring something to the game, and if you don't have a lot of experience, bring the work ethic, bring the behaviors, and read as much as you can. Just read as much as you can. And I'm not talking on your phone. I'm talking about whatever it is. You need to come with something to the party. You need to you create, if you think 4 years is going to prepare you for the world, I would say it's probably an hour a day for your whole life. Just talking to somebody, learning something, and reading about something. So make sure that you invest an hour a day into your life to differentiate yourself over time.
Great advice. And, building on the no fear attitude, I'm going to encourage everybody on the call today to take that step, the first step of no fear, and ask a question. So I'm monitoring the chat, and we're more than halfway through our hour. So make sure you share your thoughts, your experience, or your questions for our panelists as we go forward. Marty, we have just one, I don't know if you could see the chat, but from Kate Hohenthal, just kind of a thumbs up on on what you shared about hiring for behavior and training for skill, and how they're using that in the career prep activities.
I had, when I got I went to graduate school out of college, and I had, I was interning at the U.S. State Department when I was in graduate school, and I was a student athlete at school. So I had a lot of experience. But when I put my resume together, and I had summer jobs, I put down 5 behaviors. I put team player, and I explained all the things I did in my life as a team player, and then hard worker, and gave examples, and good communicator, because I couldn't point to a whole body of accomplishments. I was a 25-year-old person, right? So, you have to sometimes acknowledge that you may have, you may have graduated, but you don't really have a lot. Present yourself as to who you are. Don't be ashamed of it, and really understand who you are first, and then leverage those things that you do well, and hide those things or manage them yourself that you don't do well, because all of us have the pluses and minuses. You have to bring to the world the pluses and manage your minuses off to the side. But, don't be afraid of going out to somebody and say, I really don't know how to do this, but I'm going to figure this out. I mean, I like to hear that. I mean, those are important things. If you're being hired as an accountant, of course, you need to know, what FASB is and IFRS and the balance sheet. You need to know the mechanics of that. But we know that we hire accountants right out of college. They're going to be pretty green as to how to close a month. So bring your work ethic, bring your behaviors, but know them, and listen to your teachers. Listen to the parents, the teachers. We've made all the mistakes, so we understand. You can shortcut all those things if you listen more.
Gordon, so let me move that over to you. I think both Laura and Marty, as they were sharing their wisdom for the audience, shared a little bit of their personal stories, with the students when they were at that age, and something that they've done that might have, in hindsight, helped them go forward. Do you mind sharing something that comes to mind about your own experience?
Yeah, I think I've spent a large part of my career in innovation, and I think innovation is ultimately about change, right? And so I would echo many of the sentiments that Laura and Marty are saying, which amounts to it doesn't really matter what you know today, especially if you're working on cool new stuff. It's going to change so much, The way we think about technology today is inherently going to be obsolete due to Moore's law, right? The way we think about how we talk on the phone, right, or watch TV is going to change. My kid, he was about a year old. He walked up, he started walking, and one of the first things he did was walk up to the TV and try to swipe it, right? Because he assumes everything with a screen will swipe, right? And so I think, and if I were to back that up, at 10,000-foot level, it just means that the assumptions that we have today about what works are actually inhibitors to innovation. And so I don't want you to ever go into a room, if you choose this career path, to say, well, I don't know this, so I can't be good at it. In fact, the dominant logic is what inhibits oftentimes our ability to make change happen. And so I just want to go back to that idea of, when I think about what makes a great innovator, it is the ability to be adaptable, to be fluid in our thinking, and ultimately to let go of behaviors that might have hindered us, and ideas that hindered us. And so as long as you come in with an open mind and you bring, as Marty would point out, the right behaviors, the skills will come. And more importantly, the skills that you learn tomorrow are probably going to be irrelevant several years down the line, or they're going to evolve dramatically. And so just treat it as another, Boy Scout badge that you got, and now it's time to move on to your next badge.
Yeah, innovation is kind of like being a weather person, where we can come in front of a map, we can point things out, we can tell you how we think it is, but 30 minutes down the line for a weather person, or 30 months down the line in innovation, it's all different, and nobody can hold it against you. So it's the speed at which everything is changing. And granted, it doesn't go for everything, but for a lot of it, especially the mindset and the processes about innovation in general, I mean, you don't want it to stay the same. Otherwise, it would be the land of steady habits, which is something that Connecticut is known for. But we like to think that we're helping to evolve that through the work that we're doing. But it's just kind of an exciting place to be, because you can come from any background. I went to the Barney School. I have a degree in marketing, and I'm in this role, and it's because of a lot of reasons, but one of them is I was never afraid to try new things. I have a background in economic development. I was doing, event planning for years, traveling all around the country. And it's all of the little pieces that put it together that when you get a thought processes around it, you can fit yourself into an ecosystem where you may not have seen yourself previously, but it's how you do what you do that makes it work. So again, going back to that fear thing, just come in intelligently wild with your ideas and find a place for yourself, because there is one.
Great. Thank you all for your insights. I'm going to ask Kate Collenthal. She had a party. She was actually commenting on some, practical involvement of some of the students that you that you hired from a presentation in our class. So Kate, I don't know if you can unmute yourself or if Brittany can unmute you and share the story. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure I can do that. So,
Melina, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Go ahead, Kate.
Great, yes, because that was the call-in number. So a couple, Marty, when you were talking about that engagement, I was thinking about the connection for students when you came into the ethics class and that was promoted out to the university, and another student attended that class, made a connection with you after the event, and then you later went on to hire that particular student. And you also had mentioned about Josephine, that you had then done the sponsorship, and she had been my student intern. So when you were looking for that intern, I was willing to give her up, Marty, so she had that opportunity to work with you, and it ended up working out fantastic. But for the students listening, making sure you're checking U-Notes to see when the employers are coming on and attending those events, even if they don't necessarily align to the major, like all the panelists have been talking about. Thanks.
Yeah, it's a good question. Elena was she really didn't fit a real. She was a foreign student, international student from Albania, and she had I think an education there, and then came to UHart to get a master's, and really was struggling with getting connected into the workforce. And what I was able to do was, she followed up with me in a professional way, which I was impressed with. And then she wrote, some emails to me, and we met again on campus and really tried to figure out what she wanted to do. She actually has a very good job right now in our global supply chain in New Britain, and a real nice job. But that's her. She deserved that. She connected with me. It was a very serendipitous thing. And I would say that sometimes these things are really planned out. You'll go into an internship program and things are so to say linear. Sometimes you show up. She just showed up at the event you were putting on, Kate, which you did a nice job. And she was just interested in the topic. And then that's how we met. Totally unplanned, totally serendipitous. If it was another colleague at Stanley Black & Decker, she may not have connected with them after the call like I connected with her. Or if she was somebody else, another student, I may not have had the connection based upon, because sometimes it's just chemistry. But you have to be there. You have to try. You have to, get out there, and things will happen when you make things happen. I'm reminded by the Irish playwright Oscar Wilde, who once said, when you're older, us older people in the room will know this, you look back on your life, but when you're going through your life, it seems like this very chaotic, disjointed, all these things happening. But when you look back on your life, it's a well-orchestrated play with certain acts, certain scenes, certain actors coming in through all the scenes, some coming in for only parts of the play and then moving on. So, things happen, but you have to be out. You have to be willing to take some risks and just try. Just try. Don't wait for the formality of life to get on the perfect track. Just get out there and go learn something, go see a panel, go volunteer, and things like that.
Great. No, just like with our Women's Business Center clients, we say there is not one path to entrepreneurship. There isn't a single path to getting engaged in the career in innovation or just about any career that you'd like to build for yourself. So thank you, Kate and Marty, for sharing that story, and it can happen anyway, as long as you're aware of the opportunities and being willing to take advantage of them. I don't see any other questions from the audience, so I'm going to go on. We have about 10 minutes left, and we all know that this year has been anything but normal and anything but planned. So I want to talk a little bit about how 2020 and the pandemic has impacted your forward momentum, and if anything, if we could, obviously share anything that you feel is important, but especially some of the silver linings, I think the pandemic has spurred innovation in ways that we haven't thought about in how we work, how we live, how we learn. So what has been your experience? Laura.
Sure.
You guys take it away.
So for a programmatic standpoint for Reimagine, when we all went back to our homes to work in early to mid-March there was about 20 seconds where we looked at each other and said, all right, we're going to figure it out. How are we going to do it? And then all of a sudden it just went fast. So for us, we've grown our programming. We've grown interest across the world. We've always been open to people who are coming in from all locations, all countries, et cetera. But it felt like as soon as everyone was virtual, whatever inhibitor was inside of people, all of a sudden it was gone, because we saw uptick of 40 plus applications to the program. We were getting people logging on to some of the content we were sharing in digital formats that we had never met before, we had never seen before. It was as though our network expanded greatly and continues to do so. So that for us has been a silver lining. And I know for some of the startups within the program, there are silver linings, because either the pivot they had to make to be able to survive and keep the lights on has either allowed them to do things they never thought they could do, or took their product from where they knew it had been a really great idea, a really great concept, and all of a sudden it became twice as relevant or 10 times more investable, or whatever the case is. Now, all of a sudden, these startups are seeing their businesses really grow and flourish in one of the toughest times. So for us, those are the two of the silver linings, I'd say, is the ability to really harness virtual. We took it by the reins. We've tried so many platforms. We've tried and crashed so many webinars, so many podcasts, so many things that we haven't done well. And that's kind of the beauty of this, is that everyone is at the same point right now in history where we've all had to stop. We've all had to change together at the same time. It's just, how willing were you when you look back, God willing, knock on wood, 2 years from now, and you say, what was it like? How willing were you to put your feet in the water and be like, well, I hope the boat works because we're going in full horse. So for us, it was just that willingness to be like, we're going to do it. We're going to go hard at it. And then for the startups in the same way, to recognize that they had to change to survive in some cases. And the fact that a lot of them are flourishing because of the pivot is a silver lining for us. That is something we really look to say, wow, if anything, let's look to that.
Great, thank you. Before I move on to Marty and Gordon, I was reminded that, I thought the questions were coming in the chat, but we do have some in the Q&A. One of them actually fit really well with my question, and it was about, have you found that the transition into work from home either hindered or fostered innovation within your companies? And then a couple of questions around opportunities for connecting with you, both as volunteering opportunities or whether you're looking for certain kind of talent, and just kind of a more general question about what's the best way to connect to a speaker. I'm putting them all out there because we're about 6 minutes before the end of the hour. So if you can incorporate, definitely the pandemic impact, but some of those answers as well. Gordon.
Yeah, I imagine the pandemic for us was no different than it was for other companies that are based in the Hartford area, which is in March, it was kind of exciting, right? In terms of figuring out how we were going to manage our new ways of working, and then managing childcare and things like that. And arguably we still deal with that, every day. But I think what has been great is it has taught us to be more like a startup, in our ways of working, being able to be nimble, to work in a way that leverages digital technologies in a way that maybe as an insurance company we weren't doing so before. And ultimately, it helped us better understand the value proposition of our innovations and to enable them to be thought of differently. And so an example of that would be just kind of our IoT program for schools. And we had an example in Newington where, Newington was driving this grab-and-go meals program, where children and families who are coming from financially challenged situations could get a free meal during the pandemic, right? And so it was breakfast, it was lunch, and the town's program served about 8,000 meals a week, right? And then on a summer Saturday, like the walk-in freezer starts malfunctioning. There's potentially spoilage of all the food in it, but fortunately, Newington schools have our IoT program. The walk-in freezer was censored, and we were able to save all that food, right? So it just creates a different perspective on the benefits of the program. But in terms of engaging HSB, I want to just re-anchor again and say, hey, we're looking for all types of talent, as I'm sure Marty and Laura are, and in particular, we have different offerings or programs set up. So if you're an engineer, we're supporting mechanical engineering, senior projects, right? We are working with the school services for career services. And again, we're building this IoT lab, which will be, to my knowledge, open. We have this same call next November. So those are all easy ways to engage us, and obviously feel free to email me at any time if you're interested in talking more.
Thank you. And Marty, we're about 2 minutes, a little less than 2 minutes, so you have the floor.
I'll give you back some time. Stanley Black & Decker, we never closed our 120 factories around the world. All of our back office closed, so all of us in office jobs stayed home. Personally, I found it very hard. I had to get my compass, my psychological compass reset, which took me about 2 to 3 weeks, but got it reset. You have to get back on the horse. You have to get involved in the world. No one's interested in complainers when the whole world has the same problem. So just figure a way to adjust, stay safe, take it as an opportunity to learn, to pay attention, most importantly, to listen. Listening is the most important form of communication you can learn. The other thing I will tell you is that if you need help, you can reach out to me. I don't have positions working for me that are open now, but Stanley Black & Decker is always looking for talent. So if you want to try, we'll help you try with us or point you somewhere else. Really appreciate you setting all this up.
Great. Thank you very much. And Laura, a quick nod that people can reach directly to you right after today's event.
In the chat, you're more than welcome. And first one to reach out, I'll send you something cool.
All right. Even more of an incentive to reach out. Wow. Call to action. Thank you all. We're just about at the hour. It has been a pleasure and an honor to chat with you today. Thank you for all you do for the University of Hartford community and for the Hartford ecosystem of innovation. Be safe, be healthy, and I look forward to future events. Take care, everyone. Thank you to all our attendees. Thank you very
much.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye.
We want to especially thank today's sponsors, Launch and Symetra.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please rate and recommend us on iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more great information about this company and other great startups at imagine.nsre.com.